No, and Ty reminds me, honestly, a lot of Heath. And that's why when they were kind of talking, I was like, I kind of want him to ride with you. Because, Corey and I we could talk to a mud fence. So, like, if you put a quiet person with a talkative person, they tend to. And so I know Heath, even though Heath will be chatty with his people, with somebody new, he's good at being a listener. That's why he and I are actually a good pair. Because I'm the one that does all the talking, and he does this. He just holds his arms like this.
Well, and I think that's like a big part that he plays in this too, though, because a lot of the guys that have came in the past, super quiet when they first got here. And you spend a weekend with Heath or Corey or any of these guys, and you can't help it. You know, they just start chatting and making friends. And I mean, a lot of them we've all stayed in contact with too.
Oh, yeah. No, like Mike King, he was the guy we hosted, 3 years ago. I can't remember if he was 18, 17, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he actually wrote on the page and was like, how's it going? You know, he wants to get an update. He wanted to know how everybody was doing. And the funny thing was, so the first year we had our event, I don't know if we told you this. So the first year we did it, there was a guy, Flo, who he was a sniper, 27-year retiree, was just coming out of his career, and he was going to become a taxidermist. And so that was like a talking point for Heath and him. And then the next year, we had Mike King show up, Green Beret, retiring, going to become a taxidermist. So it was like our theme. Like, we were just going to find a taxidermist for Heath to, talk taxidermy, talk shop with.
To connect with, yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny that we had, and then the next year we didn't have, I was like, we don't have a taxidermist. We broke the tradition.
Yeah. Because this is what, year number, what did we figure out, number 4?
I'd have to honestly go back and look. I think 16 was the first year that we did it with the club, and then, so 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So this would be fifth trip, but 4th year.
Right.
That makes sense. Because we did 2 in 1 year. One was in February, and then one is in December. Last year, 19, we did the February one, and then the one in December with the 3. So
let's give a little bit of background.
Okay.
The club that puts this on.
Yes.
Houndsmen for Heroes. Okay.
So we'll start with the beginning. So Fern Ridge Treehound Club, which anybody in Oregon kind of knows who they are, was a very old hound club, and it actually started in the 70s. And Johnny Young was a pretty pivotal member of that, and they had it going really. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, hound clubs were huge. They just had, it was like being your local Elks Lodge. There was always a lot of guys that were in them. But then after the laws changed in the 90s, they ended up kind of dissipating, and the club kind of almost went to non-existence. And then around the time, was it 2006, 2007? People were trying to retalk the numbers because they were noticing the deer populations. They were noticing that the cougar numbers were going up and all that stuff. So it kind of got people revived, and they wanted to get together again. And so there was a revision of that club, Fern Ridge, and Johnny came back, kind of helped run that. And in the midst of that, we wanted to create a charity. And one of the members had actually told us, hey, there's this thing called Wounded Warriors in Action, and got us involved with them and doing the events and stuff. And so it kind of revived the club, and we put on a banquet in 16, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think 16 was the first year.
16 was a lot of work, and it was nuts, but we made a good chunk of money, and we decided to not do like a little event, like a big event, and that's when we rented the big lodge, and we had all these people and everything, and in the midst of that, that's kind of where the birth of Houndsmen for Heroes came. It was like, okay, we need to do this right and do it for more than just once a year in this thing, in this big lodge. We wanted to maybe do smaller events with more frequently if we could. And so anyway, if that kind of gives the basis of Houndsmen for Heroes and its birth and where it came from.
And every year we get to bring in usually 2 vets. Yep. We've done 3 in the past, but that was rough. Stretch. I mean, because the goal is we want everybody.
1 year we tried 4, I think. We did 4,
but second year.
One trip we did like 5 or 6 days, and it was too long. It was too long of a trip. I mean, you're pretty tired now, and this is what day are we in? I know it's Saturday.
What day is it?
Day 2.
Is it? What's today? It's Saturday, right?
Yeah, so Thursday, Friday.
Okay, so Saturday night.
Yes.
So we all started, I know Troy and I, when we got here, we left Wednesday night, and we drove straight through, caught like 3 hours. We parked in front of the taxidermy shop because we didn't want to wake you guys up coming in that late. So we crashed out, and then we went out that whole first night. And you guys have been out on the road. You guys ran a cat for like 10 hours yesterday, didn't you?
1 cat, but we were out 26 hours. came back, slept for a couple hours, and went back out, stayed out another 12 hours.
God knows how long.
Yeah. Finally got a cat, thanks to you.
Oh.
And then came back after that. So, and Ty's still out.
Ty is still out. I know we were wanting to do this with everybody, but it's kind of crazy. This whole hunt, it's just in and out. You know, people are in, they're crashing out, they're taking a couple hour nap and bombing back to the woods.
Yeah, we just slept in the truck.
Yeah.
As much as we could. Because, I mean, when you get on one of those cats, what I learned this weekend is you just run it as long as you can.
And you kind of got the crash course.
Yeah, those dogs, they put in 31 miles yesterday in one race.
Oh, I know. Tony's got some dogs, man. That is crazy because they are sore.
Talk about commitment.
Well, and it's funny because he had to pull his dogs off, didn't he?
Yeah, because they got on the
They
private.
didn't want to stop.
Nope.
So
No, he had to pull them off. So they got down in that private.
And that was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we started on that race at 5 or 6.
So you got like broke in right.
Yeah. It reminded me of an old CQ duty in the Army where you stay up all night long.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? What's your background?
So I'm Dennis Caswell. I was in the Army in the early 80s when there wasn't a whole lot going on. Got married in 85, had 3 boys. 2 of the 3 went in the military. Ty went in the Army. I tried to steer him away from what I did, get him into being a mechanic. My thought was that would give him a job when he got out and hopefully keep him safe if he was there. Mm-hmm. It's different being a veteran and sending your kid to a war. You think you should fight, not them. As a parent, you believe that that's your job, not your kids.
Right.
So we worked with Ty to try and find him a good job. He was a mechanic. And then when he went to Iraq in 2006, I believe, he was a mechanic, but they put him on route clearance jobs. So he was out there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, got Ty and his brothers raised and still working, been married 35 years. Everything's working out. There was some questions for a while, when you as you raise your kids and you go through life, but it's all good. Just be patient and stay the course, and it's all worked out for us.
And Ty, because he's out here, they're still trying to find a cat.
They're still up there.
They probably left, a couple hours ago?
yes.
We got a hot meal, awesome dinner. Thanks, Laurel.
Yes, you're welcome.
Laurel is like the camp chef for the Houndsmen for Heroes events.
I have a saying, and it started when we had Fern Ridge, and they were, not many. To be fair, when the Hound Club goes, not many wives show up to those meetings.
Right.
And so when they do, it's a warm body that's willing to jump up and volunteer to do things. And so I saw it as the fact that, just to preface, if anybody doesn't know who I am Heath Sewell's wife, Laurel Lynne, and we have 4 children. I have 3 boys and a daughter. And with having 3 boys and with a dad that does have hounds, I decided a long time ago that I am not a houndsman, but I am raising them. So in turn, that makes me kind of a houndsman. Because I'm raising them to support. This is a healthy habit. This is better than, cheaper than cars, and
it's better than drinking,
cheaper than and drugs and alcohol. So if it's running in the woods and gas and dogs, that's their addiction, then so be it. And it's a memory that they'll have with their dad for the rest of their life, and hopefully their kids. And so I try to support that. And if that means that I am the lady who is up at 2 a.m. making biscuits and gravy,
this is true.
Then by golly, I'm going to be the one to do it. So,
and I'm sure it's a family affair, right? The kids are involved with
very much
feeding the dogs and all that. So you all stay pretty connected with that.
Well, I remember seeing the first picture of Wyatt's first cat. That was. No. It's cool to see these kids because, we do the field trial once a year, except for Rona season. That threw everything off.
Dang Rona!
But it's awesome to see. The families year after year after year, and then you start getting into the next generation.
Right. And
then there's new kids running around. Heck, I had to track Colin because Colin gravitates towards your kids like crazy because they're fun. I mean, there's lots of trouble to get into.
It helps when your kids are part feral. So
we're raising one of those. Colin's pretty good. The other one's feral. But I used to take the TT tracking collar and I'd put it on him like a belt. So if he got too far, I could see where he was, and I think your kids took him down to the pond or something.
Pond to go fishing.
So I'm like, what the hell is he doing? He's a long ways out there. So
that's a good parenting tool.
Whenever you hear the beep, you just come back. So we'd hit the tone button, and he'd come running back to camp. Dad, I heard the beep go off. That was like...
It was fun for everybody.
I thought so. Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. But this is the one event that we get to do where everybody It's organized chaos.
Oh,
I mean, it's
yeah.
probably the best way to say it.
How many kids do we have here tonight?
Oh God, I don't even know.
7,
3, 4, 5, 6, 6.
Oh, the other ones were here last
The
night.
other ones were just neighbor kids that just, after 6, you stop
They walked
counting.
in here
You
like
just
they
feed
owned it.
them and, oh yeah, that's what happened.
And when we pulled up, the outside was full of kids,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was
yeah.
cool. They're all outside playing. They're not in playing Xbox or
Right.
they're all outside
You know,
playing.
they were all running around the neighborhood
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock, whatever it
They were
was.
trying to rope each other in the yard. They call
Yeah.
it what
Cowboy
do they-
jousting.
Yeah, cowboy jousting. That's when you try to rope each other and grab each other. You actually try to heel each other.
Yeah, pull
and
their
make
feet
them
out.
Fall.
It's all
pretty
about
fun.
safety too,
Oh
right?
yeah,
They
absolutely.
had helmets on, I'm sure, right?
Making them tough.
But yeah, it's usually 4 days that we got vets here, and we try to do at least 2 a year. We're talking about doing a couple more, right?
Yes,
Coming
I
up
would.
in February.
Yeah, we have a couple more vets. So one of our guys actually that we hosted last year loved it, wants to be super involved, and has a goal of us having a couple more guys. So we'd like to maybe have it more in the Central Oregon area. Still working on trying to find a location to host that out of, but our goal would be to host those couple guys as well. Because I mean, you don't want to say no when you got guys lined out. You don't want to tell them no. So,
No.
for a long time, we've just done the one event a year, and I think it's where we had some growing pains because you got to get the feel for it. You got to get the feel for what works, what doesn't work.
There's a lot of logistics.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of logistics to it, and now that I feel like we've got a good base, I feel like we could do 2 events. We're ready for it, and we got really
think
lucky
so.
this year with a couple of very generous donors. And because
Can we give them a shout out? I mean,
yes, okay, so we have Armstrong Cutting out of Sweet Home gave us a nice chunk, enough to actually basically make this event. We were covered the complete event, and also we were able to buy. I'm going to say the rifle wrong. I'm going to let you tell the rifle that you guys got because I'm going to be a total
Do you
girl
remember?
and say
Of
it.
course, a Savage 17 HMR
With scopes, yes.
with Weaver scopes.
Yep, and then 2 jumbo boxes of
2
bullets.
500 round
And
boxes
they're
of ammo.
sequentials. They
Yes.
came off the assembly line. Boom, boom. What yours is 5.5? His is 5.6.
My last 3 is 888. His is 889.
There you go.
And that came from the Dover Spike family, Stephen Dover Spike and his wife Danielle. And so big thank you to them because that basically covered that event. And if we are able to pull one off come January or February in Central Oregon, I think the donation from Armstrong Cutting will actually cover that as well. So we were very, very excited to get that donation from them. Because as a nonprofit, nobody is paid. We're a very small board. We're not a lot of people. Jason, because he doesn't have enough going on in his life, is also a board member of Houndsmen for Heroes.
And you're
So-
raising 5
I know.
kids counting
Yeah.
Heath.
Yeah, no. Just we all believe in what we are doing. So I think the one thing I would like anybody who actually listens to this podcast to understand is that when we did this event the very first time, while we were there, actually Flo, his grandfather passed away, unfortunately, in the midst of that hunt. And that was after had a 24-hour, 26-hour day in the truck. And he came inside and I think the sleep deprivation and the emotions kind of and he just opened up to everybody. And we were sitting around the fire at the house. And by the time he was done talking, like I was crying. I'm pretty sure if you guys were trying to hold it in, and it was like, he was so overwhelmingly thankful for what we were doing. And I told him that what we're doing is nothing in comparison to what he had been through and what he was sharing with us. And I just, in that moment, we left and I told Heath, I'm like, we have to do this again. Like if this this tiny thing of making a meal and, just doing if to any houndsmen that are probably a part, a houndsman told you have to go hunting is like not a hard thing to do.
Not
And if
really.
you know that it has an end purpose that really has depth to it besides just a hunt, then you're like, okay, why would I not want to do this again and again and again?
I look forward to it every year.
So,
And Troy won't be on the podcast with us, but my buddy Troy Terry here, I've been bugging him for years to
he's
come on this
waving,
hunt with
going,
us.
No.
I can talk about you. You did a good job today.
You did
we're
an
all-
excellent job.
Right.
Right.
He spotted that cat track at no joke, probably 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. We were bombing. I mean, we were ready to go hit another road, and I see arm grab the oh shit bar. I stop. I mean, he spotted it right then and there, and it was.
And that's not an easy thing to do. Look at that cat track as you're driving down the road when there's other tracks probably on either side of it. Pick that out.
I would say in the last 3 days, we've probably driven, I'm going to say 300 woods miles pretty easily, and probably past 10,000 rabbit tracks. We've seen some smoking hot coyotes. I mean, I think we bumped them out of the road, a couple of them.
Right.
But
And I had Corey and Tony's 2 dog teams traveling with me for the last 2 days, trying to get me into some cats, and we were on several chases. And then you 2 today, that's 3 teams that I had, doing all they could to make me successful and get a cat. And, we were able to do it tonight in the dark, and that's pretty exciting. And it's something that we talked about was, have you suffered enough yet, right?
have you had enough? Can we get down to it?
Have you suffered enough? Have you been up long enough? Have you not eaten long enough? All those things. And at the end of the hunt, the last day I'm going out, that night in the dark, we get a nice cat out of the tree.
So I have to ask, what was your preconceived notions before coming out?
Well, I did this mainly to spend time with Ty, as you grow older, your kids have kids, you don't get to see your kids quite as much. So I didn't really have a preconceived notion. I kind of thought that, maybe Ty and I would be together, but we spent all the time coming up here together, and we have stories to tell one another, and the ride back home. And it's good to get him connected with other folks that are like-minded. It kind of gives him a chance to blow off some steam. And I'm sure that your kids are different when they're not with you, right?
Yeah, probably.
So I'm sure Ty probably felt a little more comfortable to talk with Heath than had I been there. So it's great. That's great. And to think about all the work that you guys put in, that Tony put in, that Corey put in, all that for us. Ty said on the way up here, I can't believe that people are willing to do all of this just for us because we served our country. And really, in my opinion, it's an honor to serve your country, to protect everyone's life and liberty and all of those things that we all value and appreciate. And if veterans didn't do that, people that are out there protesting, burning things up, they wouldn't be able to do that. So we are so appreciative for this, and we looked forward to it for so long. And it's operationally, there's a lot going on here that we never knew anything about.
You're looking at the reason it happens.
Putting all the donations together and all those things, all of the food, gathering everybody up, paying for all the fuel, the ammo, and everything else that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's recognized by those of us that come and reap all of your hard work that you guys do, and it's appreciated. It was a great time. Spending 2 days in the pickup with the guys that I hung out with was, it's a great time getting to know those guys and build those relationships that you hope go on for a lifetime.
The relationships you build in this community, I think they last. You might go through your rough times, or it's like everybody kind of has that competitive streak a little bit, but overall, I have met more good, solid people through this hound community than any other way in my life, I think. And it's really cool to see you guys come in, because the military, I mean, it's a brotherhood too. And to come kind of have you guys come and share this, like for us, I mean, it's the least that we can do. I know we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
All we do is drive around. We're going to go hunting whether you're here or not. I mean, I guarantee all of us would have been in the woods this weekend. So we feel honored to have you guys come, and it's a big deal. I really enjoy this hunt.
So this is going to be one of the big questions. Would you go again?
Yeah.
Yeah. The sleep deprivation and well, you won him over with Mountain House. Corey gave him his first Mountain House meal. That's not an MRE.
Should we plug Jet Boil? Because right? they played a big part this weekend.
It was the most valuable player, that Jet Boil.
Yeah. So Troy and I were running this cat, and we didn't, I don't know, Troy, how long do you think we ran that thing? At a little over an hour. Yeah, we had a pretty good lose on it. They took it up. I had to walk up the hill, that rock face, and kind of get them to go. And then one of Troy's old dogs and Rain took off, and they ended up popping down to the road. And what we were worried about was if they'd get it moved out, because it looked like a really good track, but they weren't screaming it real good. So they ended up going down across the creek and treeing up on the other side. Well, we got a hold of them on the radio, and and apparently Lucchini set his e-brake, and it is so cold out there, it was locked up solid.
It froze.
So thank you, Jet Boil, for making a e-brake thawing out device. And Dover Spike's ingenuity.
You could pretty much write an encyclopedia of books of all the weird things you do on a hound hunt.
Oh
like
my
that you
gosh.
never thought in your life that you would ever do. You guys, every year there's a new story, and I'm like, I would have never thought that would
and
happen.
y'all
but
think
here
we're
we are.
crazy.
I mean, I don't anymore. This is now 17 years of this stuff. So at this point, I don't think there's anything I'm not going to hear at some point.
I learned all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different, terminologies that I'd never heard of before. And
That's what I was curious, because I haven't got to spend any time in the truck with you, is the terminology, and there's a lot into it, and I'm sure coming from no hound experience, it was kind of
zero. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, what were some big ones that stood out, like terminology wise?
We talked a lot. I asked a lot of questions about, these cats and, where do they run and what do they hunt? And, am I using the right size of weapon and all those types of things. And Corey and Stephen were more than patient with me to explain all those things. And, just other things that you can't talk about on a podcast that they, taught me as we drove through the woods. I mean, to spend 26 hours in the cab of a couple guys that you never met before.
Yeah.
It's
that morning,
crazy.
That morning at 3 a.m., you load up in the truck, never talking to these guys before other than when you first meet them. And then you spend 26 hours in that truck together. There's a lot to talk about, buddy.
There's nothing else to do
about.
but talk, because we
Yeah.
drove a lot of ground without getting a cat started.
And it's cool watching the GPS and all that kind of stuff, the tracking colors. And I would ask, because I'm the guy going out to shoot them,
Mhm.
how far are they?
Right.
How far away are they? And they look at that GPS, and not only do they tell you how far away they are, but which dog is there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and which dog is circling the tree, which dog isn't with the pack.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool to watch all that, for the first time. I'll take place and have some experts, showing you how all that works. And then when you come up, you've got a completely different system than the way they have. And you're able to do the same type of, I mean, you told me how many times your dog had barked.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
They're a cool piece of technology, and it's crazy that, well, shoot, California was one of the last places to legalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they flat would not let us use them down there because they said it was an unfair advantage for the game. And
When it's really about the dog.
and as
honestly.
houndsmen, we're like, that dog is more value to me than, I don't want to say my kids,
Yeah.
but
He's
they're more
like,
value to
"Eh."
me than your kids. We want to get that dog back, and it's a safety thing. Like when they hit a road, or
I don't see how any kind of advantage other than where your dogs are, and if one isn't there,
Yep.
you know what they're doing, and you're not traipsing all around the country trying to find where the dogs and where they're at. If they get separated, you can find them. If the weather turns, they're right there. You
Mhm.
can bring them in. And then it was really cool to watch Tony bring the dogs in after 31 miles. We're sitting in the truck side by side. He starts honking his horn.
Mhm.
And then you watch the GPS, and those dogs start coming in. He honks and he honks and he honks, and within 15 minutes, all the dogs are there, and
Yep.
all the dogs are nice. They're all friendly. You can pet them all. I'm a big dog guy, and you can love on the dogs and rub their ears,
Well,
and
they'll like it.
they're all cool with that. And then tonight, when we shot that cat, dog comes up and jumps up on me, and I'm petting her and telling her what a good girl she is. Hopefully, it was a girl.
It was. That was Rosie.
Yeah. It's cool. You work together with them, and the level of commitment those dogs have to run for 10 to 12 hours, chasing, and they're running because we're watching them.
Yeah.
They're moving the entire time. The level of commitment those dogs have that's bred into them, it was pretty amazing to watch.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the thing about their kindness, because I think that is a misconceived notion for some people, that like they think that because they're a hunting dog that they're going to be like vicious or
Right.
something. And they're the most genuinely sweet. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is sometimes a bad apple in a barrel. Like in the 17 years Heath and I have been together, he has had one dog that was not nice. The rest will knock a kid over to lick him to death.
Right.
But that's about, I mean, it's so nice to have something like that and not have it be a concern as a parent for your kid.
They were all good. Your dogs, Corey's dogs, all the dogs were great. Tony's dogs.
They're just
I
like
was
any
petting
other
them all.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have a special skill
They're
set.
focused.
Very.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a good skill set. they know what they're doing and they love doing it.
Sure.
And I think that's the biggest part that people don't. Let me ask you this. Did you see any of us make a dog do anything?
No, I watched you all bring those dogs, three different teams, bring the dogs out of their enclosures,
Dog boxes.
dog boxes, take them to the trail. Some of them we would take to the trail. The others they just knew the drill, sniffed that track, and then they were gone.
See you later.
Yeah. They were gone. You could hear them barking. And then the two that we were on today, both of them, I think the one that we shot was 800 yards away through a ravine, across a creek, and up a couple hills.
Bunch of blowdowns, bad blowdown patch, and willows, because that stupid creek was not froze solid enough.
No.
It was like enough to make me really nervous because I knew I'm a big guy. I'd break through it.
And snow.
And snow.
And ice. And lots of, when you say blow down, all the logs we had to climb over and traverse. And the dogs too. You know, some of the dogs go over, some of the dogs go under. I mean, it's cool to watch them work. Some of them just run down the hill. Some of them are like me. They're kind of slow and watching their steps or where they go, you know. I mean, it was a great experience. And then to shoot the cat and watch it fall and then watch the dogs make sure the cat's done.
Yep.
And of all the dogs we had out there tonight, only 2 of them were on that cat on the ground.
Yeah.
It's funny you talked about.
And they backed off.
Did you? I don't know if you guys know this, but that they had a blowdown. Well, whatever, day before yet. Well, yesterday, basically, I guess, when they came back in, and Ty actually, they were looking for the chainsaw on somebody else's rig, and he turned around, and Ty literally had like bear hugged a log and like lifted it out of the middle of the road, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Oh, just moving the log. Like, okay.
Well, it pays to be 6'8" and 300 pounds.
It was legitimate. He is not a small human being.
No,
I'll tell you that.
I don't know where he got it.
He is a mountain of a man.
That was why when he showed up and we had talked about having them stay here at the house, you guys, because we wanted you to be close to the food and everything like going on. And I'm like, I am not putting him in a travel trailer.
Look like
bed.
Buddy
That
the
is
Elf.
Not going to happen at all.
That was a rough road. So, you know, when you tell the best way to keep a secret between 3 people is tie 2 of them up and throw them in the river.
Right.
Right. We all know that.
Right,
so
right.
I'm going to be held accountable because that was the same road that the back window might have happened to blown out of the W Dodge. I haven't told Buddy yet, but I'm hoping I get a chance to talk to him before this
I mean,
podcast.
it's work related, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know how insurance is going to cover that though, because antenna busting out your back window probably won't get covered.
Well, but it was a limb that knocked it off, wasn't it?
I think a deer ran into the back of it. I didn't hit anything. A deer
No,
must have
of
done
course
it.
Not.
But yeah, same road because Heath, and I've hunted with Heath off and on for what now, Laurel? Probably 7 years, give or take.
Yeah.
7, 8 years. Heath is really good about getting people fired up. I mean, fired up about what we do. And then he gets in his truck and he drives 100 miles an hour. And he does never look in the taillight or never looks in the rearview mirror. He doesn't care who's behind him. He has left me in the middle of the woods. I can't even tell you how many times. No idea where he's at.
It used to bother you.
It used to, and now I just got over it. So this is where the back window came from. So Troy and I are sitting at the end of this road. Dogs are trying to get this cat started. And he takes off down this little road, and it was a hound hunter road, I guess I'll say.
The road is a loose term, is what you're trying to say.
No, it was a legit 2-track, maybe. I don't know. It got a little tight.
There were some rough roads.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
Yeah.
So Troy says that road goes all the way through. We thought it was just a dead end, so I was waiting for him. And when he said that road goes all the way through, I knew if I didn't get on his back bumper, he was going to take off and leave us. He says he wouldn't, but do you believe?
I neither can confirm nor deny.
Good answer as the wife. He would have left me there, people.
You would have been trailing him for
We
12
would
hours
have
like
at
the dogs.
least. So we get bombing down this road and we're going along. And I just hear this really loud pop. And it took me a minute to understand what happened. And as that, it was like a cartoon and like all the back window of the truck just started kind of falling off in pieces. Apparently the antenna had got knocked off and whipped the back window. And it just shattered that back window. There's glass everywhere.
I saw this morning, and it was like 6 degrees when I was out there.
It was rough.
It's cold.
It was a little cold coming down the mountain. We did fix it thanks to Big R, Burns, Oregon.
Oh.
They had some painter's plastic.
Nice.
And Corey loaned me some 100 mile an hour tape. So we got that all taped
Did
up.
the Target box help you?
No, it was a little too small.
So I should have ordered more from Target.
Yeah. Yeah. Ordered like a TV size, extended TV box. But yeah, that was a rough road going down in there. But that's the history of Heath. You really want to be in the truck with him if you want to enjoy the trip the most.
There's another theory to that. There's actually been memes shared multiple times on social media saying that riding with Heath, you are taking your life into your own hands. So
that's true also.
You either are following him and hoping to find him, or you're finding Jesus behind the wheel.
Well, I saw Ty in the vehicle with him yesterday, and he looked completely content. So it must be going okay.
It's a trust thing. You just got to hold on. You get right with the Lord and just play your cards.
Is Ty a speed demon guy, or is he a cautious
I
driver?
believe Ty has got probably some of that in his past. Yes, driving too fast, more than likely. Having never witnessed it myself, as the dad, but I'm pretty sure it's happened.
I just wonder what everybody that has a radio and is listening to what we do on this mountain, like the radio chatter and the singing and oh my gosh. What? So Heath
is like his own package. I as the wife,
I
experience it all the time. I did get a catch.
You lucked out.
I did. I lucked out. He's quite it's fun because anybody that gets to hunt with Heath sees you missed it, Dennis. You're going to have to come back over and experience the Heath show, because he gets all excited, like almost like a little kid, like on Christmas. And and he's not, I'm the extrovert in the relationship. He's the introvert. He doesn't want to talk in front of people. He doesn't want to stand up for nothing. Like he didn't even want to talk about doing the podcast because it's just not his thing.
We couldn't get him on here.
No, he was like, no, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. But then you get him in a hound situation and he's just, he twinkles, does he not?
Very much.
He literally just is like twinkling and then excited and singing, and puts your name in a song as he's singing to either Alabama.
Usually the Alabama Christmas.
Yes, the Christmas album. Or
that's our favorite.
His great uncle who makes CDs and is in his 80s. And the one that everybody gets is the cattle call, which should be the hound call now.
It should be
called the Heath Hound Call. I don't know. Come up with its own name. He can come up with his own album of songs he's created over the years of people in it. I'm excited to hear if Ty has stories of the songs he has sang to him.
Oh, I can't wait to hear those myself.
I really wish.
I know. I wish we could have Ty here.
It'd be cool to listen to them sing together.
Oh,
we could make it happen.
Yeah,
a duet.
Some kind of Christmas album would be cool with the two of them. Yeah.
Nope. He likes Thistlehair the Christmas Bear from Alabama. That's his.
Yeah, that's our song.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Oh, that's your song?
Yeah, that's mine and Heath's song. No, I don't know. We always sang it.
Something to do with.
Maybe.
You never know.
I did ask him to call me Cinnamon Bear for the rest of the trip.
Oh, there you go.
So.
Why not?
Yeah, and you guys are headed out tomorrow.
Yeah, we got to go back home.
So we're really hoping Ty gets a cat tonight.
Yeah, we are.
Because
they've worked their tail off trying to get him a cat.
Every year we've done pretty good. Joe had the curse. He's missed a lot of years of being the one guy.
Joe was we had him our first year.
Yep, he was the first year.
And then was it it was 19.
It was 3 years, I think it took him to get a cat.
Yeah. I think it was February of 19 before he actually filled his tag.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a little while. Poor guy.
So it worked out good.
Well, it's certainly not due to a lack of effort.
No.
Those guys are still up there. Last night, 3:00 in the morning, we went up there. I think Ty and Heath came back at 6 and had something to eat.
Yeah.
And then went back.
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were here for
and they were there all night. Yeah. And came back again today for a little bit. And then went back, and they're still there.
And they'll probably be there until they catch a cat.
Right.
And based on the weather, I would assume it might be morning before they roll in.
I wouldn't expect to see them tonight because they really started moving. I'm going to say we ran into Tony and those guys, probably 1:00. And then they started moving. We cut a couple more. We started that one of ours probably at about 3:30 or so. And they treat it before dark, but we didn't get to it until well after. So, the cats are starting to move, but it is cooling down up there. I was like 9 degrees coming down the mountain tonight, but it warmed up to about 33. So
it felt like 80 packing that cat.
I'll bet.
Back up out of there,
right? That's a good
right?
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. My feet weren't cold anymore.
Forget about it.
Yeah, it felt like it was 80 coming out of there, but you get back in the truck and and look at the gauge and it says, 6 degrees or whatever.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about your the GPS system again. And another thing that really impressed me about that, there's lots of roads up there.
Mhm.
And in order for us to get on that cat, we dump them out on one road, and then your GPS helps you find the other road that would be closer to where they currently are.
Yeah.
And you can track those cats with those roads, which is, just like a navigation on your phone, only on those.
Yeah, as long as your dogs
there's
are
no
on the
cell
right
service up
trail,
there.
you're good. You
Yeah.
know, we actually almost had you guys go up farther down the creek. It would have been about twice as far of a walk for you, but you wouldn't have had to go down that ravine and over all the blowdowns. It would have been like, I'm going to say close to double the distance. But a lot of times it's not where you got to go, it's how you get there.
All the obstacles, right? And the snow and the ice and the creeks and all that, yeah.
And safety-wise, too.
Exactly, yeah. Going twice as far, you double your chances of getting hurt trying to get there.
Well, and see, Heath's the 17 years ago when we got together, they had telemetry, which was basically like you hold an antenna as you stand outside your rig and you kind of walk around going like this, looking for the loudest beep sound, and then you just kind of head in that direction. And so there was a lot of time spent back then, like
just looking for dogs.
Looking for your, and not knowing half the time if you were in an area, if you didn't went to an area you didn't know, there was more time just trying to figure out how to get there and then but then by the time you figured out where to get, you're trying to figure out where your dogs went because they could have cut and turned in opposite direction. And so.
And the accountability of your dogs.
Yeah.
You got them all. So, you can go home. You got all the dogs.
Oh, I haven't left a dog in the woods since we got GPS. Yeah. I mean, or maybe, I would say maybe one, but I knew exactly where he was. It was just, I had to wait till morning to get in safely to get him, but I was there. Used to, it was not a big thing. You'd lose a dog for 3-4 days once a year, because you just, literally, it's an unfiltered radio signal. You're just trying to find a beep, but if there's a rock pile, you can get a back beep. The telemetry's a lost art at this point. Like the old timers or those of us that still hunted with it, we should take him on one of those. Let's get Dennis back. Round 2. We'll just run telemetry and see what he has to say. We'll run a podcast after that.
I'll just take your word for it, man.
Yeah,
I like what you have going on. I was impressed by that.
The new technology has made it so different. I don't want to say easier, because it's still a lot of effort.
You have less worry about your dogs. I think that is 100% what
accountability of your animals, the safety of them, I think, is well worth the cost of that system, in my opinion.
Well, we think about it
that I've gone on.
I mean, somebody's pet, they'll spend stupid money on.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
For us, $300 collar on a dog that saves us tens of thousands of dollars in fuel driving around looking for them,
or vet fees because they've been out for days.
And you can swap that out on different dogs, right? You just,
Yep. You can put it on your kid.
Whatever
works.
Right? I forgot.
Evidently that works.
It does.
Didn't even know. No, the last time I experienced telemetry, I was probably 3 months pregnant with our daughter. And then Heath's truck, the old beater hunter truck that's out there, ran into a tree, and then we had to walk out. So that was this is the end of the chapter of where Laurel Lynne goes dog hunting with Heath. And I think I've gone twice since then with him.
You're like, oh, Heath, you really know how to have a good time.
Right? I was like, I'm never doing this again. And since then, his pack has obviously gotten a little bit better, of course, minus our poor cougar death. But,
I know.
Our good old cougar boy that we lost this last year. But no. But then kids and life happen. So I probably should be a better wife about going out with him than I do. But
it's timing.
I know.
Danny used to hunt with me all the time, until I went through a couple years. I wasn't real fun to be around in the woods. And then the kids, it's a lot. Yeah. And when you're having that support system at home, it's different. I mean,
don't get me wrong. If like, say Ty gets into this and he decides that his oldest boy gets to be 5 or 6 and wants to take one, it's just when mom goes, I think when mom goes to anything, the whole dynamics just change.
Yeah, right.
So
I agree.
if it's dad buying beef jerky at a gas station at 2 a.m., that's really cool.
Yeah, right.
Wait, mom would be like, no, you don't need any pop.
Yeah, that's how it works.
You know what else was kind of humorous to me with the dogs is the dogs that didn't get a go, because maybe they're older and they ran so hard the next day. to watch them sit in the dog box and pout because they didn't get to go.
Right?
Yeah. They wouldn't even put their head out the window anymore for you to pet them. They're like, they're all mad because they don't get to go.
Yep.
So, funny how they get. We have a Oreo. I don't know if you didn't get to run much.
Yeah,
okay,
I met Oreo. Yeah.
So we call her our Houdini, and she knows when he fires that truck up that he may or may not be going hunting. So she barks. And then if we leave, we now have like hog panels on the top of our kennels
I saw
because
that.
she will legit climb out. She keeps finding holes, and half the time he's like, I think this is where she's getting out because she wants to go. Like she genuinely just wants to go hunting. And it's funny that they get really attached to it.
Oh, yeah, that's their thing.
And like Cougar, so our old dog that passed this last year, somebody had a Cougar on their property. It was getting into cattle and stuff. And so they called Heath, and Heath goes to get him, fires the truck up, and he had a lead in his hand. He wasn't going to leash him because he would go right to the box. He walked in there and he opened the kennel up, and Cougar just like, I'm ready. Sat down, and he was like, he knew what he was supposed to do, and he got excited, and he loaded right up in the dog box. And it's like, once they know that they get to do their job, they're like they're like
It's all business.
well-behaved child. They're just ready to go.
Let's do it. And then they come back so tired, and lay down and lick their feet. And I just thoroughly impressed with the dogs and their work. And
I'm glad you got to spend some time with some dogs because I didn't know how much was in the truck and how much you got to see dogs work, because the biggest thing I get every year from the hunters is they had no idea that those are like they're our dogs. They just happen to be hounds, and we happen to do what we do with them. But, they get back and they see us all feeding them. Like, I guarantee every dog out there was fed before we came up and ate.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
And watered, yep.
And water, you get them all taken care of, because if you don't take care of them, if we treated our dogs the way some of these people think that we treat them, we would never in a million years be able to do what we do. It's like taking an Olympic athlete. They have to train, they have to feed, they have to do everything right to perform at that peak level, and if you don't do it, put in your work 363 days a year, that
look
one
at the
day.
cat. The cat is made to run out there on top of that snow.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs made for various terrains, so the cat's got an advantage.
Right.
Those dogs just stick with that, regardless of their pads getting sore or whatever. They stick with it until that cat is either treed or, as I found out this weekend, in a cave or in a huge brush pile. Those dogs are right. And then they won't leave until you go get them.
You got the full spectrum.
I got it all,
really
yeah.
thinking of the story, you really did get to see a lot of woods time that most people don't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, watching that, I didn't see that cat go into that cave, but it went into a really small cave that the dogs could barely get into, and it just stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stephen could hear it growling from the other end. It had an exit hole. And then the other big cat just beeline for a huge brush pile that was like 100 yards long. So it's not like you could burn it or anything crazy like that. Or move some of the twigs. It was so huge.
It's like he knew what it was there, huh?
Yeah. And same with that
cat's
cave.
used that before,
Oh,
I guarantee it.
No. So we've talked about that because one of the cats, I think that they were pushing around, was it Wednesday night? No, it wasn't Wednesday. What?
The one over on Myrtle Creek?
Yeah. They've ran that cat multiple times. It doesn't get to be a big old cat by being stupid.
Right. And there's plenty of trees for it to climb in.
Yeah.
But it found that cave and it found that brush pile.
Yeah.
Yep, they know.
I like hearing people that are like new to the hound experience, like their perceptions. And it's amazing to see your take on it, because like you're noticing that the tracking systems really keep track of the dogs, and then you're noticing like how much the dogs love it, because like we see that,
Right.
but then you kind of go, yeah, they really do love it, like
Well, and I think it's different to tell somebody how we feel about them
and experience
it. Like I can tell you any narrative I want to tell you, but the true fact is when you see it with totally fresh eyes.
Right.
So it makes us feel good that we're leaving that kind of impression.
Yeah, no, I watched the houndsman pick up a tired dog and put him in the box, not expect him to jump up in there after running for 31
That 3 feet's
miles.
rough after that many miles.
31 miles in 10 hours. Mm-hmm. No break.
Nope.
You're watching them the whole time, run. I mean, talk about, they are athletes. And when you look at them, they're lean, they're healthy, they're happy. I mean, for them, it's a pretty good life, I think.
Yeah, you get to go play all the time.
That's it, man. That's your job.
They love it.
Chasing cats. or bears or whatever they're chasing, man. That's what they're bred to do.
You know, and it's all over the U.S., which is a cool thing because I've got, well, and not even the U.S., I've got friends now like Bear. He's from Finland. And Rasmus, we had on the podcast not too long ago. He's from Nova Scotia. I mean,
they run them in Mexico, I think. Too,
Mexico, everything from jaguars to deer. It's really cool to see how versatile and what these people have done with these dogs to split them. You know, like some specialize in cats. Like a guy with cat dogs is going to outrun a lot of guys that don't have cat dogs. You take those dogs and put them on a bear. It's usually a different story. You know, they really fine tune into the game they chase. But I'm really glad and feel very fortunate to have had you there because we really did not know where you guys were.
Yeah.
Like we happened to bump into them at that brush pile.
Right.
We didn't know what was going on. And we went on up the mountain to try to find another track. Ended up getting the truck stuck. Got that shoveled out and came back down. And we were just
on our way
glad to
down
find
too,
you guys because my biggest fear on one of these hunts is always getting a cat and not being able to get a vet there because it did happen one year, didn't it?
Yes, we had. Well, they thought that they had one. They had a hot what they thought was a hot track, and I think it ended up being okay. And they didn't end up getting anything. But we had a communication issue because it was that year that the snow was just so
horrible,
thick and deep, and so by the time they got over there, it was an older track, but it was one of those cats that was just, he was a smart old Tom.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just was running circles. So Keith would know that story better. But before all this, did you know anybody that had hounds or ran hounds or anything like that before?
No.
So this is all new.
And now you know a bunch of us.
And now I know several.
Yeah.
You got like 8 new best friends.
Right. Yeah.
That you spent 26. And it's funny that you made a comment about that. And like, I think that's one of the things that we hope actually is part of the experience. Well, number one, my goal is hopefully that it's not too easy. And I don't mean that in a weird way. I mean, like, when you work for it,
We want you to sweat a little bit.
Did it not feel really rewarding today? Like it was like all this time and effort. And we're like, yes, like I want, because I feel like it's like when you take a kid buck to shoot like when our kids go out hunting with their dad and they want to go shoot a buck and they're like, Wyatt this year was all, I want to shoot. I'm not going to shoot anything less than a 4-point. It's like, dude, you're 12.
And how old's Wyatt?
You're 12. Like, can we start with, I don't know, like a 3-point and not even a big 3-point. Can we just do like a, like, can we set some normal standards here?
Don't shoot dad's target.
You don't want him to just show up, get in the truck, drive out, and shoot one. It's like, what was the fun of that?
Yeah, Ty's first buck was a little forked horn with the antlers are like the size of a number 2 pencil that you couldn't really see until it turned itself, and the ears were hiding it before that.
The one where you're looking at the binoculars and you're like, I think wait, no, yep, it's buck.
I think that's a fork. Yeah.
The ones you look at long enough to think there's no way that's a buck or it'd be out of here by now.
It's too stupid to be still standing here. No, but the time in the truck, it's like when you go deer hunting or, turkey hunting, some of those, you have to be quiet. You can't really be conversing with each other. You might be together, where there's so much time in the rig that you're talking and getting one-on-one. And it's, at least with some of the vets that we've had, they've said that they actually were glad that it wasn't overwhelming because they were worried that they're like, we don't know any of these people and we're showing up and then we're going to meet these guys and then I'm going to be having to go hunting with them and I don't know who they are. And you get that like one-on-one connection a little bit. Because I know Corey even made kind of close connections with a couple of the other guys we had before and made plans to go hunt with them outside of our events. And so that 26 hours, you get in tight quarters.
Man, I tell you, and I learned a valuable lesson today that I want to pass along to your audience. Is we had that cat that went to the brush pile paralleling the road, not far from the road, maybe, 500 meters or whatever, paralleling the road. And Corey said, hey, get ready. Sometimes those cats will cross the road. So I'm getting the rifle and everything ready to go. And I get out, get the rifle. And that's when you guys had pulled up right behind us. Yep. And as I passed by the door, I slam it shut. And Corey's like, oh, you just slammed that door shut. And when you did, that cat turned and went the other way. So I had to pay my penance by walking an extra 200 or 300 yards that the cat ran the other way, more than likely because it heard that door slam. So
there's a lot that goes into it. Like there's times that you can be loud, but the one thing I will tell you is when dogs are running and a hound guy's mouth is shut, that's when you want to be quiet because they're listening those voices are telling us a story of what's going on. I mean, and I'm sure most of our listeners know that because they do what we do. But you can learn so much to the point. I mean, like I asked Tony on that cat because he says that's a nice track. It should be a good runner. I said, do we want to keep him above this road or do we want to let him get on the other side? And his answer was, it's rocky on both sides. Let him go where he's going. But, you know, if you can watch that GPS, you can manipulate how those cats run sometimes. I know we do it with our fox. And it can make a big difference because they'll get into those areas like that brush pile. If you could keep that cat the other side of the road, you might catch him. Where other times he's going to head straight for hotel, motel, and nowhere to hit away.
It's funny that you talked about asking Tony too, because it's like Heath, he's been doing it for 17 years, but he's just now to the point, probably in the last 5 to 10, that he feels like he can, I don't want to say he's comfortable, but like he's a veteran enough out there that he isn't
not
going
a spring chicken.
Yeah, no, he's not. Where Tony's got way more years of experience, and that you turn to him and you're like, what should we do in this situation? Because you aren't normally a snow bobcat guy.
Yeah, I'd never hunt
and so
cats
to
usually.
turn to Tony and be like, hey, what's the best call at this point? Because Tony's been doing this a long time.
30 years?
Yeah.
More,
So
probably.
it's just cool that, you know, we have that innate ability that after this much time, he knows what the cat's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd be like, oh.
Because I was looking at it, I'm like, that cat's going to hit this ridge. And he's going to, like, this is what I think is going to happen. And he's like, just let him go. And when he tells you to let him go, you let him go. And it worked out.
Yeah. You know, we would, as the dogs were out doing all the work, we could just sit back and build a fire.
Yeah. And Dover Spike builds a good fire.
Oh, the world class. And we would sit back, sometimes 2 at a time. We just sit back and just kind of hang out around the fire, watch the dogs. Because, you know, I learned this the last few days that just because they're circling a tree doesn't mean something's up there. Give it a little bit of time and wait. And, you know, you don't want to walk 800 yards through the snow and ravines and the ditches and all the trees for nothing. So
No, you
you got some time. And I think I asked, it may have been you, how long will that cat stay in that tree? Because it might take me a while to get there. And just like, hey, they'll stay there as long as the dog's at the bottom barking. So you got some time to get there. So there's no sense in rushing, hurrying, getting hurt, trying to get out there. Just, you know, take your time, do it right, listen to other folks, communicate, and worked out good for us.
Well, we were glad to have you there.
Thank you.
That was a great day.
We are very appreciative for everything Hounds for Heroes and you all have done for us this weekend. It was a great time.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't be doing this without you guys. And
it's an honor. God bless America.
Special thanks to everybody involved.
Yeah.
Laurel, you held everything together at base camp.
Try to make sure the coffee's hot.
Well, there's a lot, like we said, there's a lot that goes into this event, and you and Heath take on a brunt of it just because you're here. You know, and it is appreciated from all of us too. So
she's feeding 15 guys at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, you know, another 10 or 12 at
How many shifts did it take to get a night's worth of sleep the other night? Because you were making dinner. You made it in batches.
Yeah, so you guys had headed back to the house to go to bed, and then the guys were just goofing off and hanging out because they thought they were genuinely not going to get up till 7, 8 in the morning to head out. And they played cards. And
the snow changed.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he gets on the trip check.
Right.
And he's like, oh, there's snow. And then I'm already kind of preemptively getting breakfast stuff going just so that I don't have to worry about it in the morning. And he turns around and it's now 9:30 and I'm wrapping up. And he looks at me and he goes, so we're probably going to want to leave at 3. And I'm like, so.
Just start breakfast now.
Like, so then I pretty much started breakfast and finished at 11. Then got up at 2, cooked, and then got done about 4:30. And then the kids were up about 7-ish. So I lots of coffee on my part the rest of the day.
And you know what else was nice was all of the snacks that you had here for us, the Cliff Bars, the pepperoni sticks, the jerky, whoever.
Well, and Mike donated a bunch of that, right?
Yeah.
The butcher.
So yeah, Bierman's Ranch Meats out of Burns. They've been really good to us every year. They always give us pepperoni or summer sausage, and this year they gave us some tri-tip. One nice thing about this organization is we're small enough that we aren't so big that it's intimidating to people to donate. They don't feel underappreciated or unable to give. And I love that because we've had everything donated from, flashlights one year to people putting fuel into rigs to one of the guys. Actually, I don't know if you know, but if you turn around there, Dennis, there's a saw cut out with the hounds on it. And it's either for you or for Ty that Dave Creekmore made that and wanted to give it to you guys.
That's great.
And if you were a big organization, somebody might be like, "Oh, what can I do?"
It's like a drop in the bucket.
Where for us, it's all. I think the personal relations is a huge thing, and I don't want to ever lose that. Like, I want to expand eventually. I would love to see us grow, and there are things like you had commented on that Heath and I do a lot, and yes. I have no problem. Heath and I are people of faith. We're a Christian family. And for us, it is about where your job as a Christian is to give service, to give back to those around you and to not ask for anything back. And it's like, I find more gratitude or more reward out of doing an event like this than like, say, don't get me wrong, like Fern Ridge is a great club and they would have events and we would volunteer for that. And it's important to be supportive and do things together like an Elks Lodge or, an IOF hall or any of those things. But when you're doing something for a greater good, it's so much better. It's just something that you go, I want to do that because it means something. And I want it to mean something to you and to your son and it does, obviously. And thank you. I don't know. I'm sure Jason is the same way. As like, I almost feel guilty when they thank us. Do you feel guilty?
I do.
I do too. Like, not that I'm not saying I don't want you to thank us. It's just like the thing, like what Ty did going to war and you even being his father, like that, that's so much more than me making coffee and cooking it to it. That's nothing.
I do feel it's very genuine, in both ways. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
We're glad to have a constant supply. I mean, we could hunt these vets as much as we, it's not hard to find one, right? No. I mean, we can find them.
That was one of the reasons I want people that are listening to this to know. That was one of the reasons we started our own foundation, was that they were like having trouble finding people in Oregon. And we're like, how are you not finding veterans in Oregon that want to go bobcat hunt? Like,
right?
I can't believe that that's a thing. Like I don't know how many times. I mean, I think every hound guy can think of 5 people they've met in their life.
Right.
I'm not even talking veterans, just general people that are going, oh, I want to go bobcat. What's that all about? Like, I've never ran dogs before. I want to go coon hunting. I want to go fox. Like, I want to do all, they've heard about it or have seen it on TV, on the hunting shows, and they want to go experience it. And it's like, don't get me wrong, it's fun taking those people, but the dynamics with taking veterans, it's just always, it's never been different. An off year. We've never had a year where that was like, that was,
And we don't know what's coming into it. We've had people with physical conditions that made it a little tougher to get around. PTSD. I mean, you don't know what's going to cause a flare up. Like, there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
This is going to sound really bad to say probably, but there's so much that could go wrong as far as, triggering, bad memories or PTSD or things like that.
Well, and the sleep deprivation could be detrimental to someone, honestly.
Oh, we've had people tell us, like, flat out, this was almost harder than like basic training. The sleep deprivation really got to him after day number 2. I mean, it was bad. So we're glad to have you here. I really hope they get a cat.
Yeah.
If not, we'll go hit it first thing in the morning and try to get one before you guys take off.
Yeah, I really hope he gets one tonight as well. That would be great for him. But if he doesn't, I know that him and Heath had a great time in the cab of that pickup for the last 2 days.
I'm sure they've got a whole album recorded by now.
Oh, my gosh.
So, well, Dennis, thank you so much for your service.
I
Thanks
appreciate
for
all
here.
you have done for us over this weekend.
And Laurel, thanks for sitting down.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, I'm hoping maybe, fingers crossed, maybe tomorrow you can pin the other 2 down after they get an hour and a half sleep.
Yeah, we're going to let them get a nap first because
yeah.
I have seen Heath. Heath does crash after day 3.
Like a toddler.
It's usually a little rough.
It's like a toddler after a sugar high.
That's exactly a good way to put it. It's exactly like that.
He's like all happy and then he crashes and then he's
glassed over.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that was a good time. Well, thank you guys again.
All right.
You bet.
Thanks.